This text is taken from an article in the national newspaper from the 7th of June 2021 by Norman Silvester and entitled, "I saved Willie McRae from a fire before he died, but police never spoke to me."
A man has claimed he rescued independence campaigner Willie McRae from a serious fire only hours before his death. Former forklift truck driver Pat Gallagher has broken his silence for the first time about the blaze 37 years ago and of his confrontation with a male dressed in a boiler suit outside the burning flat. The following day, McRae, a former deputy leader of the SNP, was found unconscious at the wheel of his crashed Volvo, having suffered a gunshot wound to the back of his head. The death of the veteran lawyer was treated as suicide at the time, but in recent years there have been claims of an establishment cover-up. The blaze had broken out in his, McRae's, Balvicar Street flat around 7:30 a.m. on April 5, 1985, as Gallagher, then 27, was on his way to work. Gallagher ran into the building after seeing flames shooting through the windows of the top-floor tenement. As Gallagher approached the flat door, he was passed by a man in a boiler suit carrying a briefcase, who he assumed was a neighbor. When told about the fire, the same man said he was in a hurry to get to work and ran past him. On reaching the flat, Gallagher, who lived in nearby Nidri Square, discovered that the main storm door was open but the front door itself was locked. Gallagher managed to force his way in and lead McRae, 61, to safety. He said, "When I kicked in the door I couldn't see a thing because of the smoke and was shouting out for anyone who was inside the flat. I could hear a muffled sound and told the occupant to make his way towards the light on the landing. His lips were blue and he was shaking with the shock, and I put my jacket over his shoulders. I gave him a drink from a can of Coke I had. I had no idea who he was until I read about his death a few days later and it mentioned the fire in his home." Despite his ordeal, McRae was determined to go back into the flat and Gallagher had to forcibly stop him. He added, "I couldn't understand why he wanted to go back. Mr. McRae said something on the lines of, 'The bastards have been in there.' I wondered at one stage if there was someone already in there and I would have to go back in and rescue them, but he said no." Gallagher has also wondered if the boiler-suited men had been in McRae's flat, stolen the briefcase, and even started the fire. He added, "I thought it strange he was more concerned about being late for work rather than the fire in a neighbor's flat. It also struck me that a man in a blue boiler suit carrying a tan briefcase was unusual. I gave my details to the police at the time, but I never heard from them again. I wasn't asked to give a statement or anything, so I didn't get the chance to tell them about the men with the briefcase. I assumed they would call on me after Mr. McRae had died, but it never happened."